Alright, JBM and Almid here. Time to have a little trivial discourse on Jason's Mask, which has basically become a paragon of horror genre. Now,
If you know what paragon means, some people call it iconic and they use it wrong. But anyways, classic. How do you get the mask?
so I was a kid in the 90s, and when you think horror, you can't really think horror without thinking of the iconic NHL hockey mask that he applied in the third film. We're going to go basically focus on the origins of it and talk about how, I remember in the 90s they would come up with all these knockoff hockey masks and they'd be like, this is not associated with the Friday the 13th franchise.
I got one today that's like a modern new one.
Yeah, they still do that. And,
where it's like a hockey mask. It's like it has nothing to do with Friday the 13th.
They don't have the exact chevron logo triangles applied to the original mask. And they used to make these silver ones. And
polished silver and polished gold ones.
And then I had the gold one. I think my older brother, he had the gold. I had the gold one. He had a silver one, and we put the fake blood drenched all over it.
They also make those retarded foam ones with the one strap.
So before the mask,
you had the sack.
In part two,
the potato sack.
The burlap sack, as they call it, is the technical term, and that was completely ripped off from The Town That Dreaded Sundown, reportedly. And that's a film that came out in 1976 where you get to see the killer based on the real life murders in Texarkana in the 40s.
It's pretty scary.
Shut up.
It scared me.
Alright, shut up. He kills someone with a trombone or a trumpet. Who the fuck knows? And so if you haven't seen that, I recommend checking that out just for kicks.
That's where they stole it from, supposedly.
And in the third film, it called for a mask. They didn't define what mask, apparently. And let's say this. He gets it from Shelley, as everyone knows. And in the book, the novelization of part 3, it goes into a few paragraphs about how Shelley was a hardcore movie fan and movie props and whatnot. And that's why he brings all that. And that's why you see him doing all those gags. It's never really explained that he has a fondness for film and horror, but they do explain it and go in depth with the novel. So Shelley brings along the mask, and you never even really actually see him grabbing the mask. Shelley kind of like has it, and then like a few scenes later, Jason just shows up with it on it,
implying that he killed him.
From what I remember. And
it's a Red Wings mask.
From the 3D special effects supervisor. If this wasn't even done in 3D, it's possible that they wouldn't even have used a hockey mask. And by this time, that style of hockey mask was, by the end of the 80s, it was becoming antiquated. Obviously, it came out in the early 80s.
Well, if you've been to the Hockey Hall of Fame, you've seen one at least. Come on.
Back in the day, great goalies like the Red Wings' Terry Sawchuk, he never even wore a mask and was one of the greatest goaltenders of all time.
But anyway.
And so the script called for a mask, and the mask ended up being too small. You could see this in the documentary, Jace. His name was Jason or whatnot. And they enlarged it for his huge dome because obviously with the stunt actor he had to have all the prosthetics on, so he had a huge dome.
That thin, thick.
Okay. If you ask me, they're really pouring it on thick with the whole Jason thing. It's really not that serious. Anyway.
That's what I meant, is they put it on thick, underneath the layer of the latex, and then they had to make the bigger mask. Well, but it's pretty sweet, man. I mean, it's so iconic. People know about it now.
At the end of this film, you see him get an axe to the dome from Chris Higgins, and they end up having that scar in most throughout. You see, part 4, there goes the slit from the axe to the dome. In part 5 is obviously the one where it's not even Jason Voorhees, and they use the blue mask. A lot of people love that.
It's pretty sweet.
But you see it here in part 6, 7, 8.
Part 9's kind of retarded. They took off the top left part, but I don't know why.
But everyone knows part 10's really retarded.
Or the one where he's in space.
machete in space.
Jason Voorhees in space.
Anyway, he's gonna rendezvous with the leprechaun.
Anyways,
And this was the horror
videos.
factoid series. Look forward to this and more other
We're doing
topics
plenty
coming
more.
on Mr. Creepshow 9. We're out.